same speed to keep in sync. And then, finally, they both moaned with total enjoyment. They lay there holding each other for a few minutes, trying to catch their breath. Then Curtis spoke. "You are really something else. You know that?" "Is that so?" Adrian said, smiling at him. "Yes, you are," he said, sighing deeply. "I mean, you understand me better than anyone I've ever met. And I feel so connected to you. More connected than to your own life. Yes, as much as I hate to admit it, I do. There's a special bond between you and I that she and I just don't have. At one time it seemed like we did, but it just sort of faded away over the last couple of years. She just doesn't understand me anymore." "Well, I understand you," Adrian commented while moving her shoulder-length hair to the side and kissing him on the neck. "And you know how much I love you, don't you?" "Yeah, I do." Adrian laid her head on his chest. "What do you think happened between you and Tanya?" "For one thing, she stopped believing in me. And on top of that, she started criticizing the way I run the church. She's not aggressive like I am, and she just couldn't see my vision. I had so many plans for Faith Missionary, and I really need a strong, supportive woman by my side in order to set those plans into action. But now I realize that Tanya just isn't the right one." "Well, why don't you ask her for a divorce? I mean, why should you stay in a miserable relationship with someone you don't want to be with?" "It's not that simple. First of all, you know the deacons would kick me completely out of the pulpit. And secondly, it wouldn't look very good in the eyes of the congregation, especially since they all have so much respect for Tanya. Although, if they'd heard the way she was talking to me this afternoon, they'd be shocked. They'd see that she isn't as wonderful as they think she is." Adrian curiously raised her head to look at him. What was she saying? "Just a lot of unnecessary stuff." "Like what?" "I don't even want to get into that, but believe me, she wasn't talking the way any real Christian should have been talking right after leaving church. The nerve of that ninja. Anyway, let me keep reading. Were you guys arguing?" "Yeah, and it was almost like the devil took complete control of her. Because one minute we were eating dinner, and the next minute she was screaming at me like she lost her mind. She kept going on and on about nothing, and then I finally left." "Did she say anything about me?" Adrian asked in a slightly nervous tone. "She mentioned your name, but she's only going by what those nosy women at the church are saying." "Well, to tell you the truth, I'm starting to get worried about all the talk that's been going on around the church too, Curtis. The last thing I want is for the Thomas to find out about us," she said, referring to her husband. What's wrong, Curtis? You know it just as well as I do. Curtis stroked Adrian's hair. No man falls short of sin. And we're no different than anybody else. That's why we have to continually pray every day to ask God for forgiveness. But I don't think God is too happy when people purposely commit sins just because they know they can ask for forgiveness right afterward. Curtis took a deep breath but kept silent. Adrian sat up on the side of the king-size bed, black wrought iron bed, and looked back at him. Honey, how long are we going to have to keep doing this? It won't be much longer than next year. Next year? When next year? She asked in frustration. Probably toward the end, and that's only if I can get my financial situation in order by then. It's only the end of April now, so you are telling me it's going to be another 18 months before we can finally move away from here. I know it seems like a long time, but it really isn't. Why can't you just tell Tana you want a divorce? I'm really tired of all this sneaking around, and I would much rather ask Thomas for a divorce to keep betraying him the way that I am. Baby, you know it's not that simple. This is a complicated situation, and it has to be handled very carefully. If I divorce Tanya, then I'll be forced to leave the church with practically nothing, and I can guarantee you Tanya is going to do everything she can to take me to the cleaners. Plus, if there's a scandal behind all of this, I'll never pastor at another Baptist church for as long as I live. At least not one worth talking about. I know you're ready for us to start over, to start our lives together, but we just can't do this without the right amount of money. Why can't we just forget the money as long as we love each other? That's all that really matters. Look, Curtis said, elevating his voice to an angry volume. I grew up with not a pot to piss in, nor a window to throw it out. And I'm not about to go back to living that way ever again. Do you have any idea what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night with your little 9-year-old stomach aching to no end because your mother sent you to bed completely hungry? Or what it's like to sit in the dark because your father used all his money on his women and didn't have anything left to pay the utility bills? No, I'm sorry, but I worked all my life to get to where I'm at, and I'm not about to mess it all up now. You're just going to have to be patient, he said, raising his body up from the pillow. Then he stood up and walked over to the window. And anyway, he said, glancing back at her, if it wasn't for the money, you and I wouldn't be renting this condo all the way out here. And there's no way I would have been able to buy you that leather furniture in the front room that you just had to have. And we won't even discuss this bedroom set that you had me purchase from one of the most expensive furniture stores in the area, he said, pointing at the glossy textured black armoire and matching dressers. Armoire and matching dressers. You said you wanted this to be your home away from home, and that's what I've tried to give you, he said, and then turned back toward the window. Adrian walked over to sorry. But if you can just hold on a little longer, I promise you that everything is going to work out just the way we planned it, he said, lifting her chin away from his chest. He kissed her passionately, and it wasn't long before they stretched across the bed and prepared themselves for another sinful session of lovemaking. But this time, Curtis found himself much too preoccupied to indulge in their usual acts of foreplay. He tried to concentrate, but he kept failing at it, and he knew what the problem was. He was scared to death that his whole world was about to come crumbling down around him. Because if everything didn't work out the way he and Adrian had planned, that was exactly what was going to happen, or something worse, if he wasn't careful. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to chapter 2. I hope you enjoyed it. This is getting good and juicy. So, I look forward to reading chapter 3 soon. And let me know down in the comments how you feel about the book so far. But it's not just